And we are back, and it is time for the Else Words. This is our main discussion point for the evening. And for long time listeners and viewers, you might remember I used to do a segment that I took from Mike McCormick, I believe I say his last name, called Starts and Stops. Well, I'm going to talk about the cancellations and stuff that have happened because there have been quite a bit of them. And I'm going to break them down into the 5 main American networks here. So NBC, Fox, CW, CBS, and ABC in that order. We will have the link to where you could go to see all the stuff that I'm talking about. But right now, looks like NBC does not have any show canceled. Superstore, The Good Place, and This Is Us have all been renewed, and Grimm is in its final season. And I'm not seeing any show on here that is really looks like it's in a bad spot to get canceled. You know, there are a few shows that it could go either way, but and these are all shows, I should point out, that have aired or have at least started airing, that they're talking about. There's no, like, if they're like Trial and Error is not on here because they just started. This would be on, they probably started with the next week, and stuff like that.
Yeah, we should probably see numbers for them by the time the second night airs.
Yeah. But yeah, and Corey, by all means, if you've got any show you want to point out here, just say the word and I will let you talk.
It's funny to me because just looking at the list of NBC shows, there are shows that I forgot even existed, that I'm surprised as hell are not canceled, because I don't hear anybody talk about Emerald City or the Blacklist Redemption, which is the spinoff of the Blacklist.
Yeah. Well, Emerald City, I did not realize was written by Kelly Sue DeConnick.
I think I knew that initially when it was announced, but it's one of those things that I've forgotten about as it went along.
But, you know, you're not wrong, because The Good Place, I thought was, and this is, again, going purely from the, I've done, you know, I used to do this on, before I decided to drop the segment of Starts and Stops. But I thought The Good Place got canceled. Like, yeah, I saw it go away, and I'm like, all right, I like that show. Oh well, but then see this, I'm like, oh great. And I think
it's one of the 3 shows to be renewed so far. Now, that's kind of the thing with NBC, though, is what we're talking about here is, at best, most of their shows that haven't been listed as renewed yet are doing okay, likely to be renewed, but they're not sure bets. Nothing is a sure thing, and almost everything else is just kind of like it could go either way. And it's almost a tribute to the mediocrity of NBC right now, because it doesn't take much to, like, oh well, it's not bleeding viewers, it's just not lighting the sky up with high ratings or anything either. I can't think of a single NBC show that I hear people rave about. I hear more about Shades of Blue lately, which is surprising to me, because I wrote it off when I first saw the advertisements for it for the first season. That said, we had a friend on the show who's actually on Shades of Blue on the Podcast of Terror. But I looked at it and I thought, oh well, it's Ray Liotta and J-Lo, and I wasn't really impressed with the premise. But it seems like it's done better than what I expected it to. And just because I'm not big on those actors doesn't mean it's not a good show. And NBC with the Blacklist and Blind Spot, 2 shows that I watched for a while and then got burnt out on really fast. It's not my kind of programming, but it's doing what it needs to remain relevant and remain on the air. So good for them. It's just, man, that's a lot of things that nothing is assured a place other than the 3 things that have been renewed. And I assume that's because they were kind of like cheap. Superstore.
they own all three of them.
Yeah, and This Is
So
Us is definitely that's another one that I'm hearing a lot of people talk about.
This
That
Is
is,
Us is really good.
I've heard a lot of people go on about it.
I will say this right now because for some reason I like to think of things as replacements for other things. This is the Parenthood replacement.
Yeah,
This
that's
is
exactly what it is.
yeah,
That's what I saw it as when it started. I think that's what you called it out as when it was announced, essentially, or when you reviewed the first episode.
yeah,
But Parenthood was, if you recall, was on the cusp for most of its time being on
yeah,
the air. Certainly for the first couple of seasons. I remember Glenn and you really pitching it hard on what we're watching weekly. So it's good that This Is Us has caught on in a way that Parenthood didn't, at least
yeah.
initially.
But yeah, so the next one is Fox, and Fox has so far only one show that is leaving, um, or that it did not say it's got canceled. It's in its final season. That's Bones, but there are 5 shows that are in risk of being gone. All of which they own. Scream Queens, Rosewood, Exorcist, and Sleepy Hollow. Sorry, did I say 5? That's 4. Math is fun. But
Well, those are
and
the
then
ones that
they
are like
only
likely to be
yes,
extinguished. And I
yeah, with
tried Sleepy Hollow, like when it came back this season, and it's a whole new direction. He's got a different partner, and I think he cut his hair and shit. And I watched one episode, and I'm like, this feels like a TNT show, like the Librarians or Leverage. And I loved Leverage. Don't get me wrong. It didn't feel like it was at the quality of what Fox has for what they would like to have on their station.
yeah,
It was just it was really cheesy, um, but it almost became like a weird like crime fighting show that was very different from the premise of where it started. I did not hate it. That's the thing is I watch it. I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of neat. You know, I could see why people would like this, but I worry that it's too little, too late for it. Um, it's hard to save a show when it's already got an audience that has become
yeah,
so apathetic.
yeah. And then the shows that have been renewed: Lucifer, Star, The Mick, Lethal Weapon, Empire, Bob's Burgers, and The Simpsons. All of those shows, basically, Lucifer and Lethal Weapon are the only 2 that they do not own themselves, and the other shows that are on there are either could go either way or are likely to be renewed. I'm surprised we haven't seen Family Guy be renewed. But who knows?
Family Guy,
Um,
it's pretty much up to the production company at this point if they want to continue doing it.
yeah, the next show or
Which I
next
don't blame if
network.
they. Why would they stop? They don't seem like they're trying.
True, true, true. The next network is one that you know I watch a lot of their shows, and it's the CW. Now, CW, this is actually interesting. It's with everything that is aired, and this is why I say this, because we still have to see from iZombie. And then there's a few other shows that are coming out, mid-season. But the Vampire Diaries, the originals is the other one that I'm thinking of. Vampire Diaries and Reign are in their final seasons. Actually, I think Vampire Diaries ends on the 17th, if I remember correctly, or just ended. But Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, The 100, Riverdale, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, Supernatural, Jane the Virgin, Supergirl, and Flash have all been renewed. The only 2 shows that are like up in the air, and it's leaning more towards the canceled side than the renewed side, are Frequency and No Tomorrow. Now, Beat is asking a good question that I will throw to listeners, because I do not watch the 100, and he asks, the 100 is getting close to, or is close to getting done, right? Like they're almost done with their story. I have no idea. They changed things up from their basic premise just to keep the show alive, or well, not alive, but able to tell other things from what I've heard. And I only know of that show from previews, from seeing it on commercials while I'm watching Arrow or Flash or whatever.
Looking at the actual ratings for the shows on the network, it's what's interesting is that the Vampire Diaries and Reign were already in their final seasons. It was already something that was known that they were ending. But Reign has a 0.2 rating in the 18 to 49 category. Yep. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which has been renewed, has the same rating, a 0.2. That's actually lower than the two shows that are possibly going to get canceled, which is a 0.28 for Frequency and No Tomorrow. But one of the things that I've seen is that Crazy Ex-Girlfriend seems to be doing pretty well on Netflix.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that I know, a lot of them through the communities for either My Favorite Murder or the Slumber Party podcasts, that are just discovering Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, are really into it. And of course, Rachel Bloom, I believe, won an Emmy in the first season for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. It is a great show. I fell off of watching it. It was in the midst of too many other shows that I was watching. But I do plan on getting back to it, and I'm not criticizing quality at all. It is terrific. She is fantastic.
No, yeah.
But it's interesting because those are the lowest ratings compared to shows that might get canceled that are slightly higher. Now, and everything else is at a 0.37 for Jane the Virgin, which again has a very dedicated audience, if not a huge audience. But after the 0.37, everything else goes on up from there, 0.4 to 0.67, to the highest being The Flash, which is a 1.1. The Flash is the only one that breaks past that decimal point to get a whole number. But most of the CW shows are relatively high. 0.79 for Supergirl, 0.67 for Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow is 0.68, just above Legends of Tomorrow. So it's interesting that Supergirl is beating Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, and I will add with the whole, I think what will help, Frequency and No Tomorrow, and I think why their fate leads into, or is still undetermined, even though they are higher ratings for the 18 to 49 demographic than Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, is like you said with that Netflix thing. Don't forget, CW has the deal with Netflix where, which is how I finished the season of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I was like, I didn't realize it started airing the beginning of January, the beginning of the year. And like, because they did no advertisements during any of the superhero shows. I'd seen advertisements for Jane the Virgin, for, Frequency, No Tomorrow, Supernatural, for all these other shows. Did not see one ad for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. It was only until I saw the thing on the on demand. I'm like, wait, huh? Crazy Ex, is this a joke? And I click, I'm like, episodes, shit. Start watching them. And then I took a break because, like you, there was other things going in there. And I saw on Netflix, watch two of them again. But so I'm like, continue to watch because it's great songs and stuff, and including one that got super meta. There's a song in here that is it's so funny because of its meta-ness. That I'm teasing you with that on.
But it does. If you look at the numbers, the superhero shows are the highest rated shows for the network.
Yep.
The next closest thing to them is Supernatural, which is very close, but still, it's all superhero shows. You can see why they're doing things like expanding and having Black Lightning come out next season, presumably.
And that
will be the next follow-up.
Yeah, and this is the other thing I think that is interesting for all of the network TV. We're seeing shorter, almost the British style of television series. It's like pretty like I this is a prediction for me. I would think in probably 4 years or so, we will have more half season shows, like a fall show and then a spring show of different things on network television than we will the 24 episode, store shows
It certainly
and
makes
stuff like
sense
that.
for stuff that's so genre heavy, which
Yep.
a lot of the CW shows are. They lend towards the genre audience, to not push a 22, 24 episode season, because something that Beat was saying is that the last couple of weeks on the CW superhero shows have been slightly torturous, I guess. And it's probably because they're the filler episodes. They're the things it's like, well, we know the big bad at this point. We know what we're trying to get to for the end point, but we've got these extra episodes we have to fill before we can get there. And those filler episodes just destroy momentum for the show. So a 10 episode season versus a 20 episode season just feels tighter and feels like a more complete story. Even if you did something like what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. does, where they split their seasons into arcs,
Yeah.
or if you go in the way of the USA shows, where they do a summer season and a winter season, and just like have them broken apart, or Walking Dead.
Yep.
It's something like that, I think, is more interesting for this style of programming. You can fill 20 something episodes of The Big Bang Theory because there's not a lot of growth in between the seasons. It's not like you're trying to get a storyline passed all the way along. The closest we have to that is Amy living with Sheldon, or Bernadette and Howard raising their kid. But a show where you're trying to like promote the idea of a villain and the counterpoint to the characters and Barry and Iris and all this other stuff, that is a little different. That makes it harder to go for so long because people will lose interest or they'll just get frustrated. It's like, I no longer give a shit about who Savitar is. The fuck is going on with Barry, and why can't he just get his head out of his ass? Isn't he done looking up there? He's very fast, right? So it just like, shit can get off the pot. Shouldn't take this long. You're the fastest man alive. Oh wait, you're not, because now there's a whole bunch of you. So yeah, I don't know, man. I think that you're right. I think the benefits, we're starting to see them, especially from original programming from things like Netflix and stuff, where they can just say, we don't have to fill a whole season. Because it's not like
Yep.
the people who watch all of Stranger Things in a row one night aren't going to watch another show or a bunch of movies the next night with us. We're still going to be okay. So the TV networks are slow at picking up on this, but I think you're right. I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, the next network is sort of keeping it in the family with CW. It's CBS, and they only have 2 cancellations. And if we go by the numbers that are put here in the 18 to 49 rating, Elementary should be gone. Because I'll put it to you this, and I could see, Glenn going and making the argument now as if this was what else is on. Pure Genius and Doubt both had in the 18 to 49 rating an 8.5 or a 0.85 and a 0.7 respectively. Elementary is at a 0.67. That is less than both of them. And Doubt is also owned by CBS.
So I was in Michigan. I was watching TV with my dad and his family before I left to drive back to Three Rivers, where my mom was. And we had watched Major Crimes, which I think was in syndication or something. And then Elementary, which was in syndication. And I had to sit there and think for a good long while, is Elementary still in the air? Like, I could not remember if it had continued this season or if it had been canceled. I had no recollection of if that show still existed. I can't tell you the last time I saw a commercial for it. Now, I don't watch a lot of CBS drama programming anymore, but I still constantly seem to see commercials for Scorpion. when I catch Big Bang or whatever. But I really had no recollection if Elementary had gone away, and maybe that's the problem.
Yeah. So everything else is looking okay. Where we get into
Well, it's
the
weird that, and this is sad.
bubble.
Training Day has a like really likely to get canceled, but that may not be because of the ratings as much, because it's rated higher than Elementary. It's probably
Yeah.
because the lead actor died.
Wait, who's the lead actor?
Wasn't Training Day the one with oh crap,
Yeah, yeah.
Bill
Pullman,
Paxton?
right? Bill Paxton.
You did the Pullman
yeah.
thing, yay!
um, but no, yeah. So Training Day, I could see, sadly, I could see that getting canceled for that regard. But then Code Black, The Odd Couple, which again, The Odd Couple is one that I thought they did pull it because it ended just like unexpectedly. Like, hey, there's no more shows.
But I saw commercials for it again. Like it seems like as Two Broke Girls was coming back, that's when they were bringing back The Odd Couple as well. Like they had their mid-season and then they return.
I will say this for The Odd Couple: if you watch any episode, watch the tribute to Gary Marshall. It is so good, just with how they do it, and very, very well done. Ransom, which airs on Saturday, I never heard of that show, is close to being done. And then Criminal Minds. And then the only show, and I mean only show, to be renewed as of this is NCIS. That is the only one that they have. There's a lot of the others.
When you're saying Criminal Minds being like on the bubble of closer to being canceled, that's Criminal Minds Beyond Borders.
Yes.
The second spinoff of Criminal Minds, because they had the one that had Forrest Whitaker a few years ago, and that one made one season. So if this one, if I don't remember if this is the one that has Gary Sinise.
It is. He's actually on the TV, on the screen behind me for the video viewers. But yeah,
so this would be two different times they've tried to have a second Criminal Minds. They've tried to turn that into a franchise, and it's not worked out. So maybe stop diluting your shows at this point, CBS. We saw what happened with CSI. It caused the deterioration of the shows. And oh yeah, remember CSI Cyber? Neither does anybody fucking else. Okay, except for Dawson. It's time to start thinking that you can back the fuck up and have a show that's a good hit, and let that show be a hit, but don't make it into 5 fucking shows. It's stupid, it's wrong, and people don't care about it anymore. Thank you. Have a good day.
So on to ABC, where they themselves have 2 shows that have gotten canceled. One that makes me go, maybe it took a misstep. Notorious and Conviction, bring back Agent Carter, bitches, have gotten canceled. The one that I will point out that is interesting to me is in the comedies. Dr. Ken is right there, like right in the middle, as could be renewed, could be canceled. The Real O'Neill's right below it. Higher ratings in the 18 to 49 ratings. All this according to TV by the numbers, and yet it is more likely to be canceled.
Well, the Real O'Neill's is in a sweeter spot. Dr. Ken follows up Last Man Standing on Friday nights, and I think that the Friday night spot, while it used to house a lot of like beloved stuff, now it's like they could just do 2 episodes of Last Man Standing in a row, and people would probably be happier than watching Dr. Ken afterwards. versus The Real O'Neals is in that middle of the prime comedies during the week that ABC's done, either between, I don't even know where it lands anymore, if it's on the night with The Middle or if it's on the night with Modern Family.
It's oh wait, actually, honey, did you get that right? No, it is on Tuesdays. It is on at 9:30, just before Agents of Shield.
So what comes before it?
Um, Fresh Off the Boat.
Okay.
So it
And
goes.
Fresh Off the Boat has a 1.23 rating,
Yeah,
and The Real O'Neals is a 0.93. So that's a problem. Is Fresh Off the Boat is pretty strong, and is likely to be renewed. The Real O'Neals is under a 0.1 at the 0.93, and then Agents of Shield at 10 o'clock has a lower expectation, and I think gets better ratings from the replays later on, but is at a 0.75 and is more likely to get renewed than Real O'Neals is. So I think,
and also
they
is
either
doing.
think that go ahead.
And it also is doing that smart reasoning for a 22 or 24 episode season, with doing these sub seasons in there. Like we had Ghost Rider for up until the holidays, and then it was LMD, and then the next one is like this
Agents of
bizarre
Hydra.
world, Agents of Hydra thing.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing, is that ABC's comedies have done very strong numbers for them.
Yep.
So that a show like The Real O'Neals, which is on its second season already, needs to perform better. The expectation is higher for something like that than it is for certain other things. And that's too bad, because it's a cute show.
Yeah, and I will say the season finale that happened Tuesday was good. It was a great, actually, I will say great. It was a great season finale for them. You know, ended on such a good note and set them up for a potentially great, good season 3. The other show that is missing on the Tuesday night that I didn't mention. So it goes Middle, American Housewife, Fresh Off the Boat, and then The Real O'Neals, and the other comedies are on Wednesdays. So it'd go Goldberg, Speechless, Modern Family, then Blackish. All of those none of them shows have been guaranteed a renew, except for The Middle. On the renewed side, it's How to Get Away with Murder, The Middle, Scandal, and then Grey's Anatomy. So the TGIT shows and then The Middle have all been renewed.
Yeah, and I think The Middle, I thought that it was either this season or last season was going to be the last season, and Axel had actually, the kid who plays Axel was trying to sign on to another show, and then they wound up renewing it at the last second. I don't know how much longer The Middle can or should go on. It almost feels like they've written it in a way that it should be finishing. But
yes,
again, it's a sitcom. It's really easy to work your way around those things again. And it does stronger numbers, and it's getting its syndication now. You're seeing it in reruns in the afternoons. So it's doing good money for them. It is a wholesome programming kind of racked into that like people who don't get to watch a lot of TV, this is the kind of show that they'll watch with their family program. So it seems very likely. But then you look at the other shows that are the other comedies. Speechless is doing, out of the ratings, very, very likely to be renewed. The Goldbergs, very, very likely to be renewed. Modern Family, Blackish, all very high likelihoods. So yeah, I don't think that it's a matter of these things aren't going to come back. It's just they haven't made those pitches yet, and they don't have to be in a hurry to, because they can negotiate contracts and stuff.
Yes, but that is gonna do it here for us.